Hello everyone, this is Ian Schaefer here with UDA Technologies. I'm one of the senior product specialists that we have here for ConstructionSuite, and today I'm going to be taking you guys through some of the key factors that create a perfect project management solution. We are going to be taking a look at some of the most valuable and least used features available in the ConstructionSuite software, and today as we're going through it, we'll actually be taking a look at ConstructionSuite hosted on our new partnership with Amazon. So all of the work that we're doing today is actually going to be presented to you from here in Auburn, Alabama, using a cloud-hosted server that is from Portland, Oregon, I believe, or somewhere up in that area. So we're going to take care of a few different questions here at the same time with this hosting solution, and hopefully we'll be able to take you guys through all of this and more in just a few moments. Now we are waiting for a few of the attendees to join us today. It looks like we've got a lot here already, but we've still got probably about another 50 or so that are looking to log into the session. So along those lines, we're going to pause for just a couple of minutes to make sure that we can get everybody into our session today so we can get started. And then once we're ready to launch, again, I'll be taking you guys through. Ian Schaefer, one of the senior product specialists here at UDA, I'll take you on this tour. My colleague Sydney Dorsey will actually be fielding questions that you guys might have through the GoToWebinar panel. Now those questions you guys can actually post to us using the GoToWebinar interface. There should be a section on there marked questions. And what I'd like you guys to do is we're pausing to get everybody involved. Take a look at that questions panel. Find the area on there where you can post your own questions, and leading into this, tell me what you guys hope to learn for our webinar today, and I'll use that information as we go through the series to provide better insights for you, our audience, and make sure that we can cover any of the questions that you guys might have. Sydney will also be doing an excellent job today, as she has many times in the past, kind of pointing out some of the good questions that are coming through, or some of the ones that we can easily highlight for you guys. So again, keep those questions coming. We'll be revisiting those several times, and then at the end of the webinar, we'll cover any that we may have missed. Now along those lines, again, we're going to pause for just a couple of moments as we're getting these last few attendees in. If you guys do have any information about yourselves, your companies, or what you guys hope to learn, send that over now, and we'll get started in probably about 2 minutes. Thank you guys for your patience, and we'll be right back. All right, thanks for your patience, everyone. Like I said, we are now ready to get started. I think we have most of our attendees in. And once again, my name is Ian Schaefer. I'm one of the senior product specialists here at UDA Technologies, and I've had the privilege of being a part of this team for the past 10 years. And I actually came on board close to the beginning of the life cycle for this ConstructionSuite software, and we'll talk about that and a couple of the other tools here that we offer, and just to give you guys a little bit of background, and then we'll get started. Now, as I mentioned, this is UDA Technologies, and today we're taking a look at the ConstructionSuite software. This is actually the second product that UDA Technologies produced and released, and it's actually been available now for about 12 years, I want to say. We first released this back in 2006. It came after Construction Office, which was our first product line that we released back in the late 90s all the way through 2004. Construction Office 2004 was a wildly successful product, and we actually still have people using it today. One of the hurdles that we run into with Construction Office is it had the old dependencies on the Microsoft Office family, so even though we had several 100,000 people using that system, we eventually developed a more standalone, better integrated application, which we called ConstructionSuite. And here we are with this. With ConstructionSuite, we have a full project management system available to you guys here. This has the capabilities to go through and create estimates, schedules, put together projects with contracts and purchase orders and material lists. It even has a lot of lead tracking capabilities and opportunity management tools. It's got a full calendar associated with it, so it can help populate all the details and show appointments and all of the additional information available to you guys there. We even have some of the details available here for things like simple to-do lists or checklists. Now, as we start this webinar series for the month, we're going to be looking at a lot of the details available to you guys in ConstructionSuite, specifically the main interface here, what we have up. Now again, this main interface has a lot of extremely valuable components that people don't work with often enough, in my opinion, and conveniently we'll be taking a look at some of my favorite features in here to include things like project templates and workflows. Now our goal with this webinar today is to focus on a lot of the setup for success. Project management always begins with you guys exercising the experience that you've gained in great projects in the past to build a better project system moving forward. And so we're going to focus a lot on things like project templates, project types, project workflows, groups, and setting up a lot of the additional template tools that we'll be focusing on later on in this webinar series, next week with the estimating and the following week with scheduling, and focusing in on some of those key components that help us execute on the successful plans that we develop here today. Now again, this is the ConstructionSuite platform. There's a lot of tie-ins to our ConstructionOnline platform as well. Some of the key differences, of course, that we're looking at today is ConstructionSuite is a desktop application, so we have access to a lot of extremely powerful, expansive tools in ConstructionSuite, like RS Means Cost Books, and a library of, in some cases, over 200 different contract and document templates available here in this platform. All of those can be auto-populated or auto-filled depending on the types of projects that you create. Now, of course, we also have some of those key pieces like estimates and schedules and document management. These actually have a direct connection with ConstructionOnline, and where ConstructionOnline kind of steps in to help implement a proper project management system overall is ConstructionOnline has portals for everybody outside of your office to integrate into your team as well, to work with you and your team as you guys develop these perfect projects. So ConstructionSuite, an office management tool here, is really designed to help you and your office personnel focus in on how to succeed with everything available to you guys in our systems, all these tools. Online is developed to provide some of those key pieces for a lot of the project management or site supervisors or field staff to supplement the information that we're putting together. So we're taking a look at office tools today. We'll take a look at field tools perhaps next time. Now again, in the ConstructionSuite platform, you've got a number of different key components here that we're going to be setting up. And a lot of this information is going to start with our projects that we take a look at in the ConstructionSuite system. Now in ConstructionSuite, of course, when you first log in, it's probably going to take you here to a Getting Started page, or perhaps to the Today page, where you can see a lot of the components within the system. We've got recent activities and to-dos. All of this information is typically going to be coming from the projects. Recent projects over on the left is going to show you all the jobs that you've been most active with here lately. And as you guys work through some of the additional details, you'll see recent contacts that are getting added in, files and documents that are being included. And these would include anything that we've touched. If it's been pulled into the system, opened, saved, closed, modified, whatever it might be, they tend to get pushed up in this recent files list. So it's an excellent dashboard for jumping right back into whatever you were working in recently. And you can start to get some additional insights by taking a look at, again, some of the dashboard tools, or for some of you, using the corporate or developer versions of ConstructionSuite and above, you may also have a company overview, which gives you, again, broad overviews for how you guys are doing on all the different groups of projects that you guys have set up. Now, from this Today page, you'll also find some additional resources just right here nested into this system that give you an idea of what everybody's been working on with the activity history and how you guys are making progress on your projects using the work in progress or the WIP report that we have built in. Again, I believe this is going to be a Premier or Catalyst feature and above. But as you guys work through some of these tools and components, they're really just providing a great overview for all the work that we're putting in. And a lot of this information that you can get from these various resources allows you to perfect the systems that you set up from the projects page, which again you can find in the navigation panel over on the left. Now when we're taking a look at the projects themselves, the projects page and the contacts page and the lead page, this view that we see right here has a lot of value built into it that you can manipulate just by adjusting the information and the columns and the fields available. Now this is the first thing that I'd like to touch on, because a lot of us will look at this page every day without realizing that there's a lot of nested value right here in this table. Now what we're looking at first and foremost is our list of projects organized by project type up here in the top right hand corner. You'll notice that when you click into this drop down, it gives you a couple of different options. Here under the project screen, we've got project types and stages. The project stage pipeline might take us all the way from beginning with an opportunity through closeout on a job, so we can work with those different stages here if we need to. Project types, however, tends to be my preferred option because this gives us a quick way to focus in on a small handful of jobs that fit a particular type of project that we work on regularly. So what I'm looking at in this case would be an example of a company that does a little bit of commercial work and residential work. And on the residential side, we do a little bit of new home building, custom homes, and some full home remodels as well. So you can see that I've got my 3 different types. We've got commercial construction, residential construction, and remodeling projects. Each of these will be available here as well for us to go through and organize the detail that we've got in these projects as we're working. Now again, all you have to do is just click on one of the bubbles up at the top to bubble sort, or to use those bubbles to sort, rather. And when you're sorting the information, again, you're focusing in on this particular type of job to see where we stand. Now from this table, you'll be able to pull information like standard details like project names, project types. You'll also find base estimates, estimated value, which is the base estimate plus any change orders, or minus change orders if they're credits. You'll also start to track spending habits here and money coming in as well. The kind of the AP, AR style reports that you guys might be able to pull out of QuickBooks. Now again, the information is coming together very well here. And so what we need to do as our next step for all of these active projects would be to come up and total the values that we have for these various different types of jobs. Now this is a simple thing. I want to see how much I've invested total in the contracts that I've got for all my remodeling projects. Click on remodeling, hit the total button, and we can see that we've got just under 1.5 million in projects ongoing. As we continue looking through, estimated value is a little higher, handful of change orders here, and we've spent about $400,000 so far. This may represent some of these jobs not currently in progress. One that we've spent a fair amount of money on, maybe this one is closing out soon, and some of the rest of these are still in permitting perhaps. And as we go through and work with some of the additional details in here as well, again, switching from type to type still holds that sum so that we can get that total in there as well. But we can do more. So as we're looking through this right now, the table is just showing us everything that fits a specific type that we have organized. I'm going to go back to all, where we can see all the money that we've got estimated right now, and we're going to change the view that we're working with from the standard view, show me everything, to a group by function. Now what grouping does is it allows you to come into and grab any of your column headers, drag them up to the top, and organize all of your different jobs with various different subsections. You're grouping all of your information, and that subtotal is still going to show up as a part of this. Now you can group and then subgroup and sub-subgroup as well. So for those of you who happen to have large work areas that you guys may be working out of, maybe we group by project type and then subgroup by cities or regions or counties or something along those lines. This once again just allows us to see how much we're investing and which areas we're investing in, to give us again greater insights on what we're working with and how we need to operate. Now, providing these kind of grouping mechanisms allows us to take advantage of some of the aggregate reporting available in ConstructionSuite. And what this does is it gives us all of the information that we want to keep, broken down into these various different segments, with the option then to export it to something like Excel, so we can send it into a finance company or a bonding company or something along those lines. I find this also offers a lot of great insight whenever we're talking to perhaps a roundtable of similar companies with a lot of organizations like NAHB, NARI, Remodelers Advantage, or ABC on the commercial side, or some of the other large companies. Breaking these things down into their various different segments and showing how much we spend or how much we make in each of these areas really provides a better picture on not only our company, but how well we do with the jobs that we have in place. This helps us identify success, and what I love about this style of view is it shows me if I'm making money on certain areas or if I'm not making money on other areas, which means that maybe next year we drop that from our portfolio. Maybe next year we don't do custom homes because we don't make any money. All of our money comes from commercial projects and residential remodeling projects. This might happen. This view allows you to see that more readily, export it to Excel, and you can chop it up and get more information out of it still. Now again, these aggregate reporting tools exist on all of the tabled views. Anything that looks about like this, and we can drag these column headers back out again to undo those groupings, but you'll find it under the Projects section, under Contacts, leads, and opportunities. It's one of the advanced reporting tools that most people underutilize when they're working with the system. So I highly recommend you guys come in here and take a look at this. Add to it the fact that you can right-click on any of your column headers and turn various columns on and off, or drag to rearrange these columns. You can really define exactly what you're trying to get out of this new report or new organization without having to sacrifice any of the detail that you might using something like a WIP report, which serves a slightly different purpose. Now, some of the most common fields that I'll see people working with whenever they are organizing this information tend to fall under one of a handful, especially for the projects themselves. We have, in new projects or new opportunities that we're creating, the ability to apply a few different pieces of information here. Of course, we have requirements for a project name and a project type. We'll circle back to this in just a moment. But we also have some additional detail down here for things like project stages and project groups as well. Now, the project group is a completely customizable way for you to organize all of these different things, especially valuable here for these reporting tools that we were just looking at a moment ago. I find that most spec home builders will typically group by subdivision that they're working out of. So maybe if we're working in Ridgeway, we'll have that as one. Baldwin Park might be another subdivision that we work out of. Some of my clients actually take this and organize all of their projects and group them under project managers. So the project groups might be, Jordan or Melanie or Sydney. Those might be the people organizing all of my jobs, and that again provides me a quick and easy way to see who's got the heaviest workload and how I need to redistribute projects that are coming down the pipe. You'll also have project stages. Once again, completely customizable list of stages available to you, going from the beginning of an opportunity all the way through closeout and perhaps warranty on this. And I say that it's customizable because, again, from here, you can go into and add, edit, or delete any stages that you find in the system. Now, the best use for your project stages would be your internal terminology for gauging where you stand on any given job. Judging by the workflow or the project stages that we have in here right now, you can see that whenever a job comes in for me, the very first thing that I do is I estimate the project. We come up with a ballpark. In that space where we're putting together the estimate of the job, we have some variables in there, and when we take it to design, that's when we start to really kind of focus in. Somebody comes to me and says that they want a 4,000 square foot house with 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and blah, blah, blah. I might put together a quick estimate to find out if they're worth pursuing. If they say that they don't want to spend more than $200,000, I say good luck finding a builder. If they say that they've got a budget of $1.5 million, maybe then we'll talk. So that's where I start. Then we step into design. Then we get into proposal. We'll do a pre-bid section. That's where I start to send out the bids for everybody involved. These are all of the stages that we discuss internally for our projects, and this is how we communicate that information to anybody else that we're working with in this case. If I tell, again, one of my colleagues, like Holly Gibson, that we're financing a project, she knows that we've already gone through estimate, proposal, pre-bid, all of this is done, and now we're just sending it out to collect financing for the job. She knows that it's all done because we have these predefined project stages for us to work with. Now again, if you want to make changes to these, it's easy. Just come into this section and you can edit the stages that are here and maybe choose an icon to correspond with each of those stages. These are the icons that you'll also find up at the top in the bubble sort section. And as you're working through this, you can also relabel each of these stages accordingly and rearrange them, moving them up and down in this area as well. Up and down corresponds to left to right. So you're defining what that pipeline looks like here, and giving yourself good visuals to work with as well. Now, as I mentioned, we've got project groups, completely custom section where you guys can define your own report groupings in this case, project stages, which we just talked about. But we've also got project types up here at the top, and this is one of the required fields. There's 2 primary required fields: project name, which has to be unique for each job, and project type. Some of you will be using project numbers. Internally, you might consider this required, but we don't. As you're working with this, though, the project type is a critical component because it defines 2 key aspects for succeeding on your jobs. The first, when we take a look at the project types themselves, is actually found as a dimension set for the job that we're working on. The dimensions for the project are going to be those core measurements that we're working off of. And as you're putting together a project, we have numbers. Like I just provided a moment ago, maybe this is a 4,000 square, this is a hotel, obviously, Hyatt Plaza. But if it's a residential project, maybe those dimensions that we're working off of would be the 4,000 square feet, finished area, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Those are the styles for dimensions that we're working with. And it's, again, that constant reminder for what kind of project we're working with. In this case, the main floor of this particular hotel is 13,000 square feet. Second floor and third floor are the same. Fourth floor is a little smaller. Maybe those are suites. Fifth floor is the same. Total, again, conditioned area or total finished area is a sum of all those parts. And with these dimensions, you can actually go in and do exactly that. You can come into the value field and have some that are manual input fields, like the main floor is 13,000 square feet. Some which are addition or subtraction or division, any kind of standard arithmetic, you'll be able to get that information in here. And as you work through these, a lot of it is just a matter of adding together based on the IDs for these dimensions and setting it up as such. So again, you can go through and see where this formula that was built into total conditioned area is literally just adding the first 5 dimensions together, A plus B plus C plus D. If we decided that we wanted to come up with an average per floor, maybe then we can go through and group them all together, divide it by 5 floors, and that'll give us a slightly different variable. Now I don't want that. Obviously, in this case, total conditioned area serves a great purpose. And so as we go through and put all of this information together, these values are going to be available in the estimate at a later date, even if we just want them as a reference. They tend to provide a lot of additional utility as we're working through that. But more importantly, on these project types, the list of dimensions is predefined. If our project types for a remodeling company or something like a kitchen, a bathroom, an addition, a garage conversion, maybe a basement build out or something like that, each of those will carry a different set of dimensions. Each of those dimension sets is defined when you select that project type. So again, you'll be able to pick a project type, get a list of dimensions, and then populate the values based on those. All of those are going to be available as part of that dimension set. Let's close out of that. You'll also find that with every project type comes a workflow. And every workflow is going to be unique to those project types. And as you're looking through these workflows, you'll find a recipe for success available for each type of job that you work on. Now, I personally am a huge advocate for workflows. I think this is probably one of the most valuable parts of the ConstructionSuite system because it allows you to define every step that you want accomplished in the order that you want them accomplished, linking to the files that correspond with these things, and you're defining all of this ahead of time so that you can pull in almost anybody off the street and just say, here you go, sit down, get to work. This is what I want you to do, and this is how you get it done. Now, I don't necessarily recommend pulling in everybody off the street, but we have seen over the past few years especially a pretty severe shortage of talented labor. This allows you to work with anybody who can follow directions. This allows you to define exactly what you want done, and you can track their progress. All of this information is available per project type in the order that it appears, and you never have to worry about them grabbing the wrong file because with any of these workflows, you'll notice that a lot of them have action items associated with them, and you can define these action items simply by right-clicking on one of your workflow items, edit the workflow item, and select a template for it to correspond with. Anytime you click the little play button next to it, the action item, it'll trigger that template. Now, in some cases, we might have different estimate templates available based on our project types. Again, if we're thinking remodeling company, we might have one for a kitchen, one for a bathroom, one for a garage, whatever it might be. If that's the case, we'll have at least 3 different estimate templates based on that. So maybe in that case, we're going to go into and launch an estimate template. So we're going to launch a template. We're going into select from estimating under the remodeling templates, and we'll pick one from here. That might be an easy way to get the right estimate template every time. You can do the same thing with areas like contracts. There's going to be a section here where we create a contract package. As a fixed cost builder or a fixed fee builder, all of my contracts are going to be fixed cost contracts. So if we want to go and link to the contract that I want everybody to use, creating a contract package is once again going to launch a template. From this section, I'm going to choose my contracts folder. This is going to be a construction contract where we do a fixed amount. Now, every time any of my team members comes to this step in the process to create a contract package, all they have to do is press play. And they'll get the contract template that I want them to use every time. I can even go into and customize that template after we've made this connection, and they'll get the newly customized version as well. So it allows us to build into the process an easy way for us to centralize our information and our updates, while keeping all of this information slightly unique based on the various different job types. Again, perfect tool for providing that excellent insight to anybody on your team, no matter how new they are. You can tell them exactly what you want, and you can spell it out for them in this handy little checklist format. We've got a lot of list people in our office too. I'm not traditionally one of them, but for projects and project types, I absolutely buy into this idea. I think it's excellent, and it's been an incredible teaching tool for all of the training that we've done. And we're going to be going over this actually in a couple of weeks as well, as we finalize some of these projects for our webinar series. Now again, the project types, as I've mentioned now, are all going to be found when you're creating new projects. That project type is going to be an option that you can select here. Now with those project types, you're going to want to customize them at least to some degree, and those customization options for your project types can all be found in the Tools menu under Construction Suite options, where you can adjust your project types here. Now keep in mind, as you guys are going through and making these adjustments, that you can create new project types, but if there's ever a project associated with one of these types, it cannot be deleted. So if you guys do need to make some adjustments, maybe you had a collection of project types in the past that you're going to get rid of, I highly recommend that you show all of your projects here, change the project types for any of the ones that are a part of your old system that you guys are replacing, to free up those project types so that you can come in here and select and delete those project types. Otherwise, you'll get this message that says you can't delete it, it's in use. So, as you're working your way through this, again, you can update these project types. By default, if you ever create a new project type here, it's going to come in blank. No dimensions, no workflows. Sometimes this is really, really valuable. It gives you the opportunity to go in and start from scratch without any pre-existing clutter. I like this as a process. What I like a little bit more in this case, or where I find it's a little bit more successful, is actually duplicating project types here, or pulling from an existing project that was completed successfully. Now again, most of the reports and the tools and utility available in Construction Suite does an excellent job of giving you guys insight into where you stand in a current active project. But better still, you can always use any of your successful projects or refine some of the pretty good jobs and turn them into excellent jobs by using this option here to create a new project type from a pre-existing project. If you do a kitchen remodel and you want to turn that into your new kitchen remodel template, all you have to do is select this option to create a new project type from an existing job, type in the type that you guys would like, and then select the project type or the project that we're going to be duplicating. I'm using air quotes as if you can see that, but we'll be copying it from your list of active jobs. So as you're doing closeout for a job, if you think this one went really, really well and you made some customizations, this is the perfect place to step into and work with those. So you can pull from that, and what this gives you would then be something similar to this workflow or this dimension set, where you can come into and again customize anything that fits this style of job. In Construction Suite, it is a desktop application, even though this one is completely cloud hosted. We still have a mouse, and most of the options that we're going to be working with here are going to be available through the right-click menu. So if you need to make some changes to the workflow, for example, you can right-click and edit, delete, add new tasks. You can run the function to see what it's like. You can move them up and down. You can structure your tasks so that you can expand and collapse various different sections. And I actually see one of the questions asking here if there's any correspondence between a project stage and a workflow group. In this case, you can label them similarly, but there's no action, reaction, triggers, or anything like that between them, primarily because they're slightly different in term. Now what I find, again, works best is in the workflow stage, there's going to be an area in here where we're waiting for the customer to respond. Now in my workflow, I'm not going to set aside a lot of tasks for that. There's not space to represent waiting on my customer. What that would do is that might be a stage for my project to represent that I'm waiting on my customer, and that takes time as a project stage. But on my workflow, maybe I'll have a reminder in here to reach back out to them after a few days or to schedule an appointment, but I don't need a lot of space taken up here. So slightly different purpose. Now I do love the idea, by the way, of using the groups for your workflows to correspond with, at least in some degree, to correspond with your project stages, to help track that you're completed with one stage and you're ready to move on to the next. This is an option. Some of you will find that this is going to work and it will be successful for you. Some of you may not like this approach. Ultimately, there's no correspondence or triggers between them, so you're not losing out on anything by using or not using the same terms between the two. What you do have, though, is the ability to filter down by each of these major groupings. You can see that we're 94% done with the planning and proposal section. If we wanted to start pre-construction right now, even though we haven't finalized the proposal with the customer, we could click on pre-construction and dive into maybe creating the contract package or putting together the agreements so that we're ready to sign those when the time comes. Maybe even start putting together the award letters at this point if we have a lot of faith that the customer will come through. Again, we don't have to wait for planning and proposal in the workflow to be done to start preparing for the next stage. In fact, don't ever wait. If you can start to get all the documentation together, so much the better. You'll end up meeting with a lot more success by moving ahead and constantly looking forward to plan your next steps. Now again, most of this information is once again available in the Workflows tab, and you'll find workflows available in any Premier or Contractor versions of ConstructionSuite and above. Premier and Catalyst, I believe. And as you're working through this, again, we have all projects. Every project has a workflow. Every project has a type. Type dictates workflow. Type also dictates dimension set. So as you're working with these, they go hand in hand. Now what this means, of course, is that if you're going through and you're changing your project types, let's say this Tremont residence, for example, is going from being a residential project to a commercial project. We might have some of the information here in the workflow completed. If we make that change, we're going to have to go and verify these steps. So if we check off some of the tasks in the workflow here, or we make some adjustments to the dimension set, when we go into the project and edit the project to change the project type, this is going to trigger a shift in the workflow and a shift in the dimension set, and it's going to prompt you to notify you that this is going to happen. Here it is. Now again, when this happens, all of the information is going to refresh because now we have a slightly different workflow. Different workflow associated with this because it's a different style of job. So again, those changes are going to come into play. If you want to leverage this to your advantage, one thing that I might recommend is having a set of project types for all of your opportunities that are in bid, and maybe shift it over to a different project type once the contract is signed and it's awarded. This may be a valuable use for you. I have worked with a number of companies who do find that very, very handy because the last collection of tools available in the first workflow is getting all of the paperwork together for the handoff. The project manager is going to need a checklist of items available here where maybe we need to know the selections that have already been approved, who we're going to contact, all of the safety information that we've got for the job, when we've promised to start the project. All of that would be part of, in my mind, the handoff package. And when we do the introduction between the project manager and the owner of the future home or project or whatever it is that we're working on, I would want my project manager to already have all of this documentation before that handoff occurs, before the salesperson introduces our client to the project manager who's going to be building their perfect home or whatever it is. All of that information should be available, so if you choose to do it this way, make sure that the handoff package is the last collection of tasks in the original workflow before we switch it over to the in-progress workflow. Now, as we're working through a lot of this information, I want to reiterate that it's good to focus in on this information so that we can do a good job on the jobs that we have currently in progress. It is excellent if you then learn from this progress and create a better system moving forward. This is one of the key reasons why we have a lot of the reporting capabilities and the details available in ConstructionSuite, because most of this information is going to be insightful as we work on similar jobs in the future. So again, what we're looking for in this case is the ability to step into a future project that is similar and make more happen with the information that we've used in the past. Now, an easy way to do that is to start turning these successful projects into project templates. We're going to be looking in the same spaces for some of this information, so we want to have a folder structure in place. We're going to be looking to things like a workflow that has some of the documentation in place as well. And as we come into this later and connect it with ConstructionOnline, we're going to want to have a lot of core documentation available in these projects too. All of this information is going to be easily processed by putting together a project template, and you can create those templates using the projects and going into the templates tab here. Now, with your project templates, you have a number of different things that you can create when you're first starting with a job. When you create a project template, it still takes you through the full project wizard as if we were starting a new job from scratch. As you go through this, of course, some of the details that we're putting in are going to be a name for the template. And we're still going to have to follow some of the requirements, like filling in a project type and perhaps predefining a client. Now, for a lot of our commercial builders who work with the same types of companies over and over and over again, filling in the client right now is very useful. For those of us who don't work with the same customer over and over again, we can leave this space blank so that it'll be picked up the next time we start a job. Now, as we continue through, again, some of the additional fields that we can work with here include things like project groups, project stages. All of my new jobs should start near the beginning where we're estimating this, so I can go ahead and preload this information at this time. We can put in a scope of work, and it's got an expandable field here as well, so we can expand our scope to do more information for the scope, collapse it back down again so we can move on to specs for inclusions or exclusions on the job, directions to the job site, and so on. Now again, most of this information is part of a template, so these fields will traditionally be blank to begin with, or I might decide to put together a kind of a boilerplate scope for residential projects. We can add that information here, or as we finish out the project template that we're going to be building, we can open up the template and start to add some of the additional documentation to it here. Now again, if we're working on a project template, you've got the workflow that can connect into a lot of tasks, but you also have the ability to go ahead and preload files and folders into these projects ahead of time as well. So in this case, on a residential remodel, if we know that we're always going to use the remodeling master estimate template, we can go ahead and open this section up and add the estimate template for that project ahead of time. So it's already there, and that way all we have to do is open it up and start filling out the details. So again, we're going to pull in the remodeling master since this is a residential remodeling project. We could define all of the sales taxes and everything like that now if we chose to. Obviously, I don't need to. We can come back to that at a later date as well. And we can put all of the information together for our estimate templates here. This is also exceptionally beneficial if we're doing semi-custom homes where we build the same, let's say, 7 floor plans, because we could estimate out that floor plan here, have that already available in a project template labeled according to those plans, and then whenever we're starting a new job, we sell a lot, we add the plan in, create a new project using that plan's project template, and then we have the schedule already set up, we've got the estimate already set up, we've got contracts ready to populate, and so on. So let's save this one in. For those of you who like the options to do this, by the way, estimates also give you the option to create a new schedule from your estimate that just uses the estimate framework as the framework for your schedule. And in this case, since this one's blank, we'll go ahead and use empty subcategories as well. And this will build the entire schedule for us too. Now right now, we've got an empty estimate. We also have an empty schedule. the empty schedule or the schedule template here is still beneficial because we can go through and actually build a lot of the connections. We'll be talking about this in the scheduling webinar that we have coming up in 2 weeks, the 5 tips for scheduling. And we'll go through and take a look at how you can define this template for the schedule. But as we're working through this, some of the resources that you guys have available in the schedule include defining predecessor relationships and then shifting the start date for your project at the click of a button. So again, if we're defining as much as we can ahead of time for these project templates, go ahead and put together your estimate template and save it into the job. Go ahead and put together your schedule template, save this into our template here as well. And both of these are mostly predefined and ready for us to start as soon as we start the job. Now, to add to this, again, we'll also have some folders available with some core files that we need for our projects as well. Those would be found under project files. And from project files, we may come into and create a folder structure for something like all the different contracts or bids that we might have. So maybe we create one for contracts. Let's create another folder in here as well for awarded bids. Eventually, we will need a folder in here for change orders. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder for change orders now because I know that it's going to come up on our jobs or orders. And I'm also going to create, in this case, a safety folder. This is mostly because I want to preload a lot of my forms, like the safety manual for the job or any OSHA guides that we have to have posted on the job site. I want to have all of this information loaded into my job ahead of time. So we'll go ahead and create the folder for it so that all I have to do then is drag and drop them in. Now, of course, we can get this information from a number of different sources. In ConstructionSuite, if you guys have the corporate or developer versions of ConstructionSuite or above, under Contracts and Docs, you'll actually find document templates for a lot of personnel management tools, which include things like safety manuals and incidents reports and stuff like that. We've got forms for safety meetings. All of this information is available. So we can go ahead and open these up and save them into the project template so they're already there. Again, we've got 200 different forms to choose from in this case, so take a look at what you have. You'll find that a lot of the information available to you in these various different subsections under the document templates, these are the missing pieces that you guys may not have been looking for. So explore, find what you guys are looking for here, and all of this information is customizable as well. So feel free to right-click and edit any of these templates, or save it as your own copy, and then make whatever changes like editing the letterheads and everything like that that you would like as well. All of this can be saved into the project template, and the best part about that is now that we have a project template, whenever we create a new job, there's a new required field in the middle that allows us to predefine that as our project template of choice. Once again, this provides the added benefit of preloading now all those folders that I want to have in place. It's going to preload my estimate template and my schedule template. And if we choose to, we can set it up so that a lot of the resources that we commonly refer to for our projects that we try to bring in for a lot of these jobs are already loaded up on the job as well, so that we don't have to go spend as much time pulling in all of these additional pieces of information. This part is all about saving you clicks. So as you put together this project template, keep in mind, if you find yourself doing the same task over and over again every time you create a new job, build a template for it. Load it into the template ahead of time, and it saves you that much time. More importantly, it saves any of your staff members from forgetting about these key components that are a part of your perfect project that you never want to lose no matter what. So once again, all of this information is going to get pulled together, and these are some of the most important project management tools that you will find. And I know that we've labeled this webinar 1 hour to perfect project management with ConstructionSuite, but once you get these templates set up, you'll find that 1 hour is actually closer to about 5 minutes. Once you can get that information put together for your project template, you'll be able to execute successfully on this every time. And then the last step, hopefully, in all of your workflows will be a project recap where you guys sit down and kind of discuss anything that might have come up. And again, this is all part of the project management aspect to it, or the engineering aspect to it. We can go through and review any possible flaws that we had on that project and refine our templates and refine our workflows to make sure that we account for them next time so that we can have a better job every single time. And these are some of the key pieces to creating that perfect project management system. It may be different for each of you, but you'll find that those repeatable processes that you can set up using things like workflows and project templates and some of these grouping tools that we have available are those key components to success that we hope you guys are all able to utilize from today moving forward. Now again, that's going to wrap up most of the information that we have for you for our webinar today. If you guys do have any additional questions, please, by all means, send those in. Sydney's already been doing a great job of keeping on top of those questions, so sadly she hasn't flagged any for me today. But if you guys do have more, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, this video, like all of our others, will be recorded, or has been recorded, and will be present and available on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, go to UDA Technologies, and you'll find a complete library of all of these webinars and some training utilities and resources. And this should be available, I believe, tomorrow. But for any of you guys who are happy with what you've got and are excited to go out there and start using some of these features that you might have overlooked in the past, I want to thank you guys for joining us then. I'll let you guys get to it. And once again, this is Ian Schaefer with UDA Technologies. It's been a pleasure working with you today on our project management system. And hopefully, guys, you can find this repeatable success every day from today moving forward. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to talk to you next week. All right, it looks like we have a couple of questions that have just come through over the past few minutes. The first of these, when you duplicate a project, does it duplicate the attachments as well, like the workflow and the estimate and so on? And yes, the answer is whenever you do create a project from a project template, or if you duplicate one of your existing jobs using the right-click menu here to create a copy, everything that you've got associated with the original project will carry through to the duplicated project as well. Regardless of whether it's a template or a full project, all of the information carries through. The workflow still has all the same attachments. Your estimate will have all the attachments available in the notes section there as well. All of it will show up. This is important because if you are putting together project templates and you want to have a lot of the attachments in your estimates already, maybe because you guys use some default flooring options maybe, or you guys always use the same bathroom fixtures, all of that can be preloaded, so your spec sheets are already available in the estimate, and all of it can be available every time you guys work from there. We'll talk about that too in the estimating webinar next week. Next question, Sydney's already tackled it, but I'll ask it anyway. How did we access the UI to edit workflows? Once again, for any of you guys who missed that because I was going quickly, that's going to be available in the Tools menu. Go to ConstructionSuite Options and select Project Type to customize things like workflows and dimensions available for each of the types of projects that you guys have in the system. From here, all you need to do is click into the drop-down to choose the type you want to customize, and then it's just a matter of right-clicking on any of the adjustments you need to make from there. This is for the project type. If you want to customize a project-specific workflow, simply select the project you want to work on, and then go to the Workflow tab up at the top to make any changes that are needed. So great question on that one. And for some of the additional details, let's see the other questions. Looks like we have a feature request here. I love getting the requests, by the way. So definitely do that. By the way, if you guys do have any additional feature requests, by all means, send them our way. You can get to them through the help menu. Just submit feedback, and you can ask for anything you like. Now, granted, I can't guarantee that we'll be able to develop all of these things. I still have an outstanding feature request from 10 years ago to connect to a coffee maker. We haven't set up ConstructionSuite to make your morning cup of joe yet. Hopefully one day. But anything else, you guys feel free to submit there through the help menu. We'd love to have it. There's another question in here about the difference between opportunities and projects and leads. Just a quick overview for that, by the way. A lead is the kind of first step in getting new clients. Leads become customers, and leads are always people. Opportunities are always going to become projects. So a lead and an opportunity will both exist for the same job. The lead is the person you're working with. The opportunity is the potential for the work itself. Opportunities become projects when you get a signed contract. Leads become clients when you get a signed contract. Now we have both available in the system because a lot of us have repeat customers. In that case, we don't need to reopen a lead every single time they come through. It's the same client, multiple opportunities for work. So in that case, in that instance where we do have repeat clients, you've got one lead, you've got multiple opportunities coming through, or maybe if you guys do the same kind of jobs over and over again, but it's always different people, you just use the lead portion instead, and all of the leads have their jobs that are coming through. Adding files to a project, that's a good one too, especially if we're working with templates. So there's a few ways that you can add files to projects, but overall the best way to do it is under the Project Files tab. Simply click into the area that you'd like to add your files, maybe it's a folder or a subsection, and then it's just a drag and drop. All you have to do is literally go grab whatever it is that you'd like to bring in there, and you can drop it into the folders section here. Again, this is going to be under the Project Files section, and if you guys are working with anything outside of the ConstructionSuite environment, that's how you get it in, just a simple drag and drop. Now you can also obviously open up any files in ConstructionSuite, estimates, schedules, contracts, proposals, reports, anything at all, and save those files into ConstructionSuite as well. The only files though, the only file types that can save directly into ConstructionSuite are the ones native to the program. So on-cost estimates, on-plan schedules, and on-point documents. On-point is very similar to Word, so all of the contracts, the reports, the additional files and things like that, letters, anything like that that you might generate from on-point can be saved directly into ConstructionSuite as well. And once again, you can save it into the main project or any of the subfolders available within that. Alternatively, you can drag and drop as well, both into the system or within the system. So if we wanted to put the schedule into one of the little subfolders, you can simply drag it over here and put it in the subfolder that it belongs in. So again, good question there. I don't know that I have a lot of free floating. Again, this server that I'm working on right now, this is one of the AWS cloud hosted servers. This one's available from, I'm pretty sure this is one of our Oregon servers. If it's not an Oregon server, it may be one of the Australia servers. The beauty of it, though, is that this partnership that we have with Amazon allows us to provide the fastest in-class hosting services available, and you would never know which one we're working off of. It could be Oregon, and we're in Alabama, so it could be just across the country. It could be across the globe. It could be one of the servers that we have over in Europe, or the ones that we have access to there, or Mumbai. It doesn't matter. They all tend to be exactly the same speed, which is an amazing thing. Doesn't matter where in the world you go, if you're working on one of these, you always get the same amazing performance, excellent performance. So great way to operate in that case. And again, this one is mostly clean as well, so unfortunately I don't have too many files to drag in, but still looks great. What else do we have? We only got time for another maybe couple of questions here, so we'll try. How do you see if you have projects currently attached to a specific project type? I assume that this kind of refers back to the cleanup that we were talking about earlier. And the easiest way to find out is when you try to delete the project type, it'll tell you that you can't because you have projects associated with it. Now, when you're working with those, if you do have projects associated with it, some of the easy ways to find out would be just coming back in and taking a look at your projects list here or the opportunities list and maybe sorting by any of your column headers. So for example, we could sort by project type and it groups them all. Just simply left click on the column header to do that. I'm turning off the total row, by the way. We'll go back to the standard view. So you have those options. You can sort by other things as well. So if you wanted to organize all of your projects by cost or by project numbers or something like that, you can do all of these things. Keep in mind, though, that if you are looking for some older jobs that might be associated with a specific project type, they may be archived as well. Now, if you do archive a project and you right-click and archive those jobs, you'll actually see a new tab show up here at the top for archived projects. Archived projects still count. So if you go take a look at your archived projects list, keep in mind that you may need to go through and organize by type here as well to see if you've got an old job that's still associated with this. If you do, you'll either have to remove the project or unarchive it, shift the type, re-archive it to keep it out of the way. So there's a question here about changing an opportunity to a customer. I assume that this is actually opportunity to a job, or to a project rather. Again, leads become customers. All you have to do is right-click and change the lead status to closed won, and they are now treated in the system as a client. For the opportunities, it's the same process. Come into the opportunity section if we have one, and you can right-click on the opportunity. There's a place to change the opportunity stage, or status rather, to closed won as well, and then from there it will become a project. Now, for the reporting available in ConstructionSuite, either on the lead section or the opportunity section, it's important to note that every lead that is opened remains. Even if they're marked as closed lost, closed won, or inactive, they will still stay in this list because we need to see our successful close rates. So from here, you'll be able to go into and see all of your leads, and from there you can actually, once again, group them if you would like to group them, so that you can group all of your closed won, closed lost, current open leads, whatever it may be. You can work through this process to see all the different leads, and then your lead reports that you can generate allow you to go through and pull some specific information from that to track things like close rates by sales rep. I know for some of the other partnerships that we've had in the past, a lot of the lead reports that are required would be things like, we need to know how many new leads have been brought in the past 6 months, perhaps. And so in that case, we can go through and just look at when all the leads are added. Some of the fields that are available in here do give you guys the option to track like open dates, lead open dates, and lead close dates or projected close dates and things like that. So we could go through and sort and then group and work with that. Again, all of that information is going to be available for reporting purposes, and you've got all that information available here as well. Some of the questions I believe have already been answered, so we might be skipping around a little. We've got 2 left, and I think that these will be the last 2 that we can access, but then we've got to wrap because we're at the 60-minute mark at this point. So second to last question, where do you see the action or attachment to a workflow? If we go back into the projects, go into the workflow section, when you right-click and edit a workflow item, the actions that can be linked are available under the name that you assign to that workflow. Again, right-click and edit, and you can launch templates, which would attach a contract or an estimate template or something like that to your workflow item. Or you can fire an event like launching a website, perhaps ConstructionOnline.com, or you can launch a program from here as well, like PlanSwift or eTakeoff. These allow you guys easy access without having to leave your workflow, and all of it is going to be done through that right-click menu there. Last question again before we wrap up for the day is, where do you assign a sales rep? And most of that is going to be available either on the lead or the opportunity. Let's go back to summary, edit this one. Under the opportunity details, for example, you'll have, oh no, it is actually under leads. Let's go back to leads. We're going to edit the lead, and this would be under lead details, I believe. You've got a lead owner, which is typically going to be your sales rep, or if the lead has a sales agent. Let's say you have somebody has just purchased a home and you guys are going to remodel before they move in, or you've got a sales rep who is selling all the lots and the plans and everything like that, and they just come to you to build them. That might be a sales agent, which would be an outside party. So a sales agent here, or the agent under lead details, will be somebody outside of your company who's working with you for the sale. Your lead owner will pull from your list of users in ConstructionSuite instead to provide all of the similar detail. So again, most of this information is going to be attached here to your leads. You'll have similar options to attach them to the opportunity as well. You've got more detail when you actually assign or create them as an opportunity. You've got a similar screen, in fact. And don't forget, too, that with any of your leads or opportunities, you can schedule events right here from this form as well. Most importantly for things like your follow-up meetings or your close dates, so that you don't miss any of those. Now again, this is going to wrap the time that we have today. I certainly appreciate you guys joining us for this webinar, this tips and tricks series, starting off with perfect project management. And hopefully we'll see you guys again next week as we launch into our estimating webinar, starting, what are we looking at? We've got it here. It's going to be Thursday, October 18th, starting at again 4 o'clock Eastern or 3 o'clock Central, and that's going to be 3 ways to estimate like an expert. So I hope to see you guys again next week, 3 o'clock Central on Thursday. Until then, guys, thank you once again for your time and your involvement. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. Until then, have a great night and a great week, guys. Take care.